wiser as an educated advisor. Hello, everyone. I'm Steve Savant, syndicated financial columnist and money color commentator. On today's show, product solutions for eliminating debt, part 2 in our series on Your Family Bank with Paul Bechtold. Let's get down to business. Well, Paul, I want to talk about, just for our audience, because, you know, this is our financial advisor show, most of us don't make money getting people out of debt. Let's just face it. We just don't get paid for that. We get paid for assets under management. We get paid for annuity sales, life sales, security contracts. I want to come to the next level of helping consumers. And this is an area where finally we can help consumers and we can get paid for our time. Nothing wrong with that. We're not a 501c3. We're not doing this altruistically. We want to get paid. So walk me through why we're using whole life rather than maybe index life or UL or variable. Why are we using whole life dividend paying contracts?
The first thing is, to the point you made, most of the time the financial advisor is not getting paid to give advice for getting out of debt. So yeah, this is a turning point. And what's larger? People out there, as far as a group, people with money or people with debt? And almost everybody's got debt, right? So we'd like to be able to tap into this endless market and be able to help those folks as well. And to the point you make, get paid for it while doing it, right? The reason we use whole life insurance, and it's one of the quickest things we get into with financial advisors, insurance agents, right out of the gate, is they want to get into the product. They want to know the widget, and is there a better mousetrap, and so forth and so on. One of the earliest questions we get is, why can't we use an IUL or Indexed Universal Life contract instead? Well, there's really 3, maybe 4 main characteristics we want to take advantage of with whole life insurance. In particular, we want it to be a participating dividend paying whole life insurance contract from a mutual company. By using a contract from a mutual company versus a stock company like a New York Life, for example, we're not diluting any of the premium away from the policyholder, right? So what we do, we pay a premium in, and any overpayment of premium comes back to the policy holder in the form of dividend, because the policy owners share in the ownership of that company, right? So we want all that money to be 100% efficient. Main thing we want is we want the guarantee that the contract provides. In particular, the 2 carriers that we use for the Your Family Bank process, and they have been vetted through Your Family Bank, and those carriers have vetted the Your Family Bank process and signed off in terms of compliance. Those guarantees come in at 4%. With the dividend, that takes them close to 5%. And you got to remember that one of the efficiencies of our contract is that those guarantees are tax-free. Okay, both the dividend and the guarantee come tax-free in terms of the growth in the contract. The second thing is, by the very nature of life insurance itself, is that loans from the policy that we take out to pay the debts off come out tax-free. So everybody likes to beat the tax man, right? This is a prime example of a strategy the consumer can use at their disposal that avoids taxation, okay? But the third and the main part of the contract that we want to take advantage of, it allows our dollar to do 2 jobs at the same time. Remember when I talked a little bit ago about creating opportunity costs? We take our money and we throw it directly at our debt. We no longer have that money available to earn compound interest, right? We avoid that by using whole life insurance, because first the money goes into the cash account in the contract, generating compound interest, while we still have money to be able to borrow away from the contract that is collateralized against the death benefit to eliminate the debt. So effectively, our dollar is doing 2 jobs at the same time, right? The fourth, and a little bit more of a technical aspect of why life insurance makes sense, is that we get to take advantage of the difference between amortized interest and compound interest. The contract gives us a compound interest while allowing us to borrow from the contract to eliminate debt that is amortized interest, which is heavily weighted toward interest in the early years, right? So the quicker we can get that interest from going away from us, the quicker we're paying down that 34 cents of every dollar coming into our household.
You just made a big distinction here, Paul. You're saying that there's an economic value to compounded interest against this other interest that you're describing. I mean, that's a tale of 2 cities here.
That is correct. That's exactly what we want to be able to capture, and what the average American knows nothing about. Again, they don't know what they don't know. Right. So our job, through the Your Family Bank process is to educate first and let the sale follow along later. When we put the report together for the client and we show them that left to your own devices, you would be in debt for 30 years, but I can get you out of debt in 7.5 years with the Your Family Bank way. I don't have to do a lot of selling, right? To the insurance agent out there that's looking for a track to run on, and he's looking for something he can talk to anybody about anytime and anywhere, right? That sells itself. Do I have to know much about the product knowledge? No, it's not about the what it is. It's about the what it does. We focus on the why, not the how.
Just a little side point to make sure we're touching base. If you're unfamiliar as an advisor with whole life and why it's tax-free, remember the contract has to stay in force for the life of the client. And remember, we're taking collateralized policy loans from the contract. And as long as it complies with TAMRA at the front end of the design of the policy, we're golden. So when we're talking about tax-free, think about this. That money comes out during retirement. This is one of the only 4 products that does not appear on the Social Security Provisional Income Test. So you're not going to get Social Security taxation on your benefits because of this contract. That's a huge issue to me.
That is correct, Steve. Two of the things we like to make sure we highlight is that not only is your Social Security not going to be taxed, but your Medicare Part B and D are not going to be means tested as well. So they're going to be able to pay some of the lowest possible Medicare Part B and D premiums out there. And with where this country's going as far as healthcare costs, that could loom huge into the future.
Talk to me a little bit about, I present to the client. Most clients want to get out of debt. They want to change their behavior. It's difficult. I'm not saying it's a slam dunk. Most people aren't ready for the Marine Corps boot camp get out of debt scene, right? But they are hungry to get a control of their finance. This is an area where you can get some control up front by doing the same thing you were doing. I don't see any change in behavior here. This is what is amazing about this program. I can go 7-8 years and be out of debt just by doing the same premium commitment. See, that's kind of startling.
It's almost magical, Steve, and that is, again, starts with education. Let's use another example that you talk about. Most people want to be in shape and lose weight too. Most people want to be debt-free, okay? Where a lot of people fail to get started is they think it's going to be overwhelming, or they think it's going to take a lot more time than it's really going to take. So on average, when we start looking at people with 25 or 30 years of debt, we're usually able to get them out of debt in 9 years or less, okay? Now, the debt payoff cycle, the length of that is going to depend on the largest and the biggest debt that they have, which is usually the student loan or the mortgage, right? But on average, what we see is that all of the debts are gone except for that last large debt in maybe 3.5 years. So what I'm able to do, Steve, is I'm able to take this timeline of 30 years, which nobody wants to be a prisoner to debt for 30 years and to sacrifice and eat rice and beans and do all the things that they think they need to do, a la maybe a Dave Ramsey program, right? We can compress that down in something less than 7, 8, 9 years, right? But then when we look at the majority of their debts, we're able to usually get down under 3 years for everything except that last debt. And inside of that, we're usually able to free up enough cash flow in the first 2 years that equates to what they're putting into their banking concept. So if I can get somebody glued to the outcome of a 2-year time frame versus 30 years, I think the sale becomes a lot easier for that agent and for that client, because most people live by the old adage, what? WIIFM, what's in it for me? But I like to take it one step further, WIITFM, what's in it for me today? Not just what's in it for me, but what's in it today for me as far as being able to get out of debt. And I can show them very conclusively that within the first 2 years, I can make a huge impact to your finances.
On my way out of this segment, I thought I heard you say, hey, we could get you out of short-term credit card debt in less than 3 years.
That is correct.
See, that to me is that's kind of like 8-9 years seems far out, but to say my credit card issues are done in about 36 months or less, that's huge. Don't forget to watch our next segment on Infinite Banking Concept, part 3 in our series on Your Family Bank. And keep in mind, before moving forward with any of the ideas on our show, always check with your tax consultant, legal counsel, or your compliance officer. And don't forget, you can subscribe to my consumer show, Steve Savant's Money, The Name of the Game. Daily content you can post on your website, social media accounts, and database distribution. I'm Steve Savant. Thanks for watching.